Chief Obafemi Awolowo, often called Awo, was one of Nigeria's most prominent politicians, leaders, and statesmen. His life and legacy are central to understanding Nigeria's path to independence. In today's story, we will reveal the tragedy story of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, which made him to lose his son, Segun Awolowo. So, let's dive in. Obafemi Jeremiah Oyeniyi Awolowo was born on March 6, 1909, in the Remo town of Ikenne, Ogun State in Nigeria. He was the only son of his parents. The name of his father is David Shopolu Awolowo, and that of his mother is Mary Efunyela Awolowo. In 1916, when he was just 7 years old, Awolowo started school at St. Saviour's School in Ikenne. By 1927, he had completed his basic education and wanted to become a teacher. Then, in 1928, Awolowo went to Western College in Ibadan. This was a teacher training school where he learned how to teach others and also improved his speaking and writing skills. He eventually graduated in 1929 and worked as a teacher. Even though life was hard then, Awolowo still had a dream to become a lawyer. So in 1944, at the age of 35, he finally traveled to London in England, where he studied law at the University of London through a correspondence program, also known as distance learning. In 1946, he completed his studies and was called to the bar at the Inner Temple. Awolowo returned to Nigeria and started using his education to defend people in court, published newspaper, and he also entered politics. He later introduced free education in the western region of Nigeria, where he became premier, that is, leader of the western region from 1954 to 1960. This helped many children go to school just like he once dreamed of. Now, I hope you have known little about Obafemi Awolowo's background. So, let us review the tragedy story of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, which in the process resulted in the death of his son, Segun Awolowo. In 1951, Chief Obafemi Awolowo founded a political party called the Action Group. The party was formed mainly to protect and promote the interests of the Yoruba people and the Western region, but it later became a national party. So, in 1954, Awolowo became the premier of the Western region, which is like being a governor or a regional leader of the Western region. These were all happened in 1951. Elections were held for the Western House of Assembly, where Awolowo's Action Group won a majority of the seats. At first, there was a short delay, but by 1954, Awolowo became the premier of the Western region, where he ruled from 1954 to 1959. And during this time, as leader of the Western region, he introduced free primary education, free health care for children, massive road, infrastructure projects, and support for agriculture and local industries. He made the Western region one of the most developed in Africa at that time. But in 1959, life began to become upside down for Chief Awolowo, which caused the death of his son, Segun Awolowo. During the time Chief Awolowo left office as Premier of the Western Region in 1959. He voluntarily left the office because he wanted to contest for the federal elections to become Prime Minister of Nigeria. The general elections were held in December 1959 before Nigeria's independence in 1960. But after Awolowo left the Western Region leadership, his deputy, Chief Samuel Ladoke, was appointed as Premier of the Western Region. But very soon, serious problems started to happen. The main issues were Akintola wanted the action group to work together with the Northern People's Congress, known as NPC, the party in power at the federal level. But Awolowo and many others in the action group strongly opposed this idea. They did not trust the NPC and wanted the action group to stay independent. So in 1962, the action group split into two fractions, one loyal to Awolowo, the other to Akintola. The fight erupted and became extremely violent, which led to chaos in the Western region, which is known as Operation Wetting. So, on May 29, 1962, the federal government declared a state of emergency over Western region. Then, Awolowo's movement were restricted. Therefore, Akintola's attempted removal was overturned by the Supreme Court in July 1962. On November 2, 1962, Awolowo was arrested along with approximately 26 to 30 leading Action Group members. They were charged with conspiracy to overthrow the federal government, illegal arms importation, and paramilitary training. The court said Awolowo and his group were illegally imported arms and ammunition into Nigeria, collected weapons like machine guns, pistols, tear gas, and stored these weapons in different safe houses. His trial started in November 12, 1962. Then, in September 11, 1963, Awolowo was found guilty of treasonable felony and illegal possessions of arms, which was then sentenced to 10 years in prison. But before Awolowo was sentenced to 10 years in prison, he had a son who was with his legal defense team. His name was Olusegun Awolowo, often called Segun. He was Chief Awolowo's first son, born in 1938. Like his father, Segun studied law in the United Kingdom and became a young brilliant lawyer. When his father, Chief Awolowo, was charged in court in 1962, Segun joined his legal defense team to support him. He was just 24 years old, highly intelligent, and very close to his father. While the treason trial was still ongoing, something tragic happened. On July 10, 1963, Segun was traveling from Ibadan to Lagos to appear in court with his father. He was riding in a car driven by a man known as Ogunjimi Odulami. While on the road, their car was hit by another car in an accident near Ijebu-Ode. The crash was very serious that Segun Awolowo died instantly in the accident. Then his body was taken back to Ikenne, their hometown in Ogun State, and was buried that same day. At that time, Chief Awolowo was in prison, still waiting for the final verdict of the trial, not knowing what was going on. But when he heard the news of his son's death, he was deeply heartbroken. 2 months after Shegun's death, on September 11, 1963, the court gave its final judgment and sentenced Chief Obafemi Awolowo to 10 years imprisonment. But in August 1966, he was released and granted full pardon by General Yakubu Gowon, who became Nigeria's head of state after the January 1966 military coup. Then, after his release, he was appointed as the Vice Chairman of the Federal Executive Council and Federal Commissioner to Finance. Chief Awolowo died of natural causes on May 9, 1987 at the age of 78. He passed away peacefully at his home in Ikenne, Ogun State, Nigeria. These are some famous quotes by Chief Obafemi Awolowo. It is not life that matters, but the courage you bring into it. The children of the poor you fail to train today will never let your children live in peace tomorrow.